Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey here on October 27th, Friday 2017 at 13:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. And we're here with our good friend St. Cuthbert here. And our good friends the Candles. And I'll put my Bible and my phone away. Sort of like the two essentials you want to have near to hand. Now, I want to do a bit of a book review for you today in a minute, but first, this morning, I went to see my sort of financial advisor fellow. If you go way back in my videos, I tell the story about how I met this man's dad, who was my financial advisor for several years, and then he retired, and how I met him and how he came to get manage my retirement money and that sort of thing. But suffice to say, his dad's now sadly gone, but my fellow still soldiers on, even though he's 71. He says he loves it. He says he still wants to work into his 80s, and there's no reason he can't really. So he had moved to a new office and had affiliated with a new group of people, and although it's the same outfit, and so we had a very nice, fairly productive hour-long conference this morning down in the north, down in the north edge of Columbus. It was down in Worthington. It's the outfit is Ameriprise. It was originally IDS back in 1980, but it then underwent several changes of names, and but it's been Ameriprise for several years now. And I have two fairly standard investments with them, and then I have that are taxable, and then I have my not all my retirement money, but most of my retirement money with them. And we talked about annuities, and then we talked about an active risk allocation portfolio sort of situation, which I'm going to read and consider, but I think I might go with annuitizing my bond money, but I'm still thinking about that. Such things are, these are things you have to do every year or so. I'm going to put this out of the way here. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a book review, and the book review is of Lindsey Fitzharris's The Butchering Art, Joseph Lister's Quest to Transform the Grisly World of Victorian Medicine. This author is, she's actually a fairly legitimate historian, even though her author photograph makes her look like some sort of I don't know, call girl, albeit a call girl holding a skeleton specimen, so it looks like an embryo really. So maybe not a call girl, or maybe a very specialized sort of call girl. And this, of course, is the Gross Clinic, with Samuel D. Gross. He commissioned that painting that became known as the Gross Clinic as, it was originally called The Portrait of Samuel D. Gross by Thomas Eakins. It's hanging in the Philadelphia Museum of Art. I've often wanted to go drive over there and see this thing. But Joseph Lister has always been a bit of a hero of mine, in that he developed against massive opposition in the 19th century. Antiseptic surgery. Now we're not talking aseptic surgery, which is what we do now, but antiseptic surgery, using primarily phenol or carbolic acid. Phenol is hydroxybenzene. Well, actually, it's carbolic acid. Look it up, Google it, Wikipedia. And of course, what that did was it properly applied both intraoperatively and then to the wound afterwards. It cut the rate of septic wounds, well, basically by about a factor of 10. Rather than having 2/3 of your patients, and we're talking about just extremity wounds, not intra-abdominal wounds, die of sepsis. You're now talking less than 6%, maybe. If only they had used this in the Civil War. Now, it might have been a bit difficult to use this during the Civil War, but it cut down battlefield deaths just by a huge number. But, since I did a year of surgery and I wanted to be a surgeon originally, I mean, he's always been a bit of a hero of mine. And the other reason is that when I was about 8 or 9, my dad urged me to read a book called The Microbe Hunters. The Microbe Hunters. I offhand cannot remember the name of the author. I know it's still in print. They may have bastardized it a bit, and brought it out in juvenile editions, but see if you can actually find the real adult edition version. And it talked about the people that developed the germ theory of medicine and how to control things, and it included a little miniature biography. Well, not miniature. I mean, they were good, solid summaries of, like, Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch, who discovered, the tuberculosis bacillus and so forth, and among other things he did in pathology. Of course, Lister. I think they also. I don't think she talks about gender and vaccination, or the author talks about gender and vaccination in that. But if you can find this book, The Microbe Hunters, I mean, my dad had a copy of it. He had a copy of it as a boy. It came out. It was published, I think, in the 1920s. When he would have been like 10 or 12, 13. Well, he was born in 1910, so it had been, in the 1920s. And he had been very much engaged with it, and I read it, and I was very much engaged with it. And great stories, well told, important stories. And as is the whole thing about antiseptic surgery, Joseph Lister. Find out more about him. This is a good book. It's published by. Let me give you the bibliographical stuff here. Now here in contrast to the Gross Clinic is the Agnew Clinic. See the difference? You've got white gowns and stuff. That was painted about 20 years after the Gross Clinic. But it was Scientific American, Farrar, Straus, and Gray. Copyright 2017 by Lindsey Fitzharris. And so that's the publisher, Scientific American and FSG. Good book. I got it through the History Book Club. It was probably about $23. Well worth a read. Well worth a read. This is not one of these potted histories written by a journalist. This is written by a legitimate historian. Despite her boudoir picture on the back end flap. Okay, I think that's going to be about it. Yeah, so I'll say bye-bye, YouTube.